that smile. It wasn't polite or perfunctory, the kind exchanged in passing on these commuter lines from Capitol Hill to the University District. No, it lingered warm and uninvited, as if the man had been waiting his whole life to find Tristan's gaze amid the fluorescent hum and the chatter of exhausted riders. Tristan felt it hit him square in the chest, a jolt that made his heart stutter, his carefully constructed walls of isolation cracking just enough to let in the flood. He was tall, this stranger, with broad shoulders that strained against a drenched navy peacoat, water dripping from the dark waves of his hair onto the collar. His eyes were a deep, stormy blue, framed by lashes that caught the light like fragments of ocean glass. He shook off the rain with a low chuckle that carried over the rumble of the train, then scanned the car for a seat, his gaze landing and holding on Tristan. There was no pretense in it, no quick avert of eyes. Just that smile, slow and knowing, as he made his way down the aisle, every step deliberate, like he was crossing a room to claim a dance. Tristan shifted in his seat, heat rising to his cheeks despite the chill seeping through the windows. He wasn't used to this, being seen, really seen, in a city that swallowed people whole. Seattle had a way of doing that, wrapping you in fog and coffee fumes, letting you vanish into the grind of baristas and tech bros and artists scraping by on gigs that never quite paid off. At 28, Tristan had mastered the art of invisibility. He'd grown up in a sleepy suburb outside Portland, the kind with manicured lawns and parents who loved him but never quite understood the quiet ache he carried. The way he'd stare at boys in the hallways of Lincoln High, memorizing the curve of a neck or the flex of a hand, only to bury it deep when the whispers started. College in Olympia had been a brief rebellion. Nights in dimly lit bars where the air smelled of weed and possibility, stolen kisses in the rain that tasted like freedom. But graduation brought the real world crashing in. Student loans, a string of faceless jobs, and the gnawing fear that love was for other people, the ones who fit neatly into boxes society approved. Gay in America meant progress on paper. Obergefell, pride flags on every corner. But in the day-to-day, it was still a tightrope walk over a chasm of judgment. Loneliness a constant companion on these late-night trains home to his cramped studio in Fremont, where the walls echoed with the ghosts of what-ifs. The stranger dropped into the seat across from him, close enough that Tristan caught the scent of rain and something earthier, like pine from the evergreens lining the sound. "Rough night for a ride," the man said, his voice a low rumble that matched the thunder outside, laced with a faint southern drawl. Texas, maybe, softened by years away. Tristan nodded, forcing his eyes back to the window, but the reflection betrayed him, their gazes locking in the glass. "Yeah, story of my life." The words slipped out before he could catch them, laced with more bitterness than intended. The man laughed again, softer this time, leaning forward with elbows on knees, water pooling at his boots. "Sounds like we might have that in common. Name's Elias Hale. Just moved here from Austin. Chasing a job in software dev that sounded better on LinkedIn than it does in this downpour." Tristan hesitated, the hook of that name tugging at something familiar, though he couldn't place why. "Tristan. Ellis. Just Tristan." He extended a hand, surprised at his own boldness, and when Elias's fingers closed around his warm, calloused from what, guitar strings maybe, or manual labor before the tech world, a spark jumped between them, electric and undeniable. They talked as the train rattled on. The conversation flowing like the storm outside had unlocked some hidden valve. Elias was 31, a transplant like so many in Seattle, drawn by the promise of mountains and innovation, but already missing the wide-open skies of home. He'd left behind a family that loved him fiercely but blindly, a father who still quoted Reagan like gospel, and a mother who baked pecan pies for church potlucks. Coming out at 20 had been a quiet explosion. Hugs one day, awkward silences the next, but he'd built a life in Austin's vibrant scene, only to uproot it all for a fresh start after a bad breakup that left him questioning if love was just a series of near misses. Tristan shared pieces of himself too, more than he had in years. The freelance graphic design gigs that barely covered his rent, the sketchbooks filled with half-formed portraits of faces he'd never dared approach, the way the Space Needle lit up his nights like a beacon he could never quite reach. Elias listened with an intensity that made Tristan feel exposed, cherished, the kind of attention that wrapped around you like a blanket on a cold evening. By the time the train pulled into Westlake Station, the rain had eased to a drizzle, and the car had emptied, leaving them alone in the glow of exit signs. "This is me," Tristan said, standing reluctantly, his heart pounding with the weight of possibility. Elias rose too, towering yet gentle, that smile returning like an old friend. "Walk you out? Least I can do after hijacking your commute." They stepped into the night together, umbrellas forgotten, shoulders brushing under the awning of the station. The air was crisp, carrying the salt of Puget Sound, and as they paused at the crosswalk, Elias turned, his breath visible in the chill. "Tristan," he said, the name rolling off his tongue like a secret. "I've got a feeling this isn't the last time our paths cross." Before Tristan could respond, Elias leaned in. Not for a kiss, not yet, but to press a damp business card into his palm, fingers lingering just a beat too long. "Call me, or don't, but I'd bet on the former." And then he was gone, vanishing into the crowd with a final glance over his shoulder, leaving Tristan standing there, card clutched tight, the city pulsing around him like it had suddenly woken up. That night, in the dim light of his apartment, Tristan lay awake, the card on his nightstand a talisman. He'd always dreamed of a stranger, faceless, perfect, the one who'd shatter his solitude with a touch. But Elias wasn't a dream. He was real, with rain in his hair and a drawl that lingered like smoke. And as sleep finally claimed him, Tristan wondered if the universe had finally decided to play fair. The days blurred into a rhythm Tristan hadn't known he craved. Mornings started with his phone buzzing, notifications from freelance clients, but Elias's texts, casual at first. "Survive the commute without me?" Or "saw a mural in Ballard that screamed your style, coffee sometime?" Tristan replied before he could overthink it, their exchanges building like a slow-burning fire, words laced with subtext that made his pulse race. They met for the first time off the train at a hole-in-the-wall cafe in Queen End, the kind with mismatched mugs and baristas who knew your order by heart. Elias arrived early, nursing a black coffee, his peacoat slung over the chair, revealing a fitted black sweater that hugged his frame. Tristan spotted him from the door, heart flipping at the way Elias's eyes lit up, standing to pull out a chair with an ease that felt both chivalrous and charged. "You clean up nice," Elias teased, his gaze tracing Tristan's simple button-down and chinos, the outfit he'd agonized over for an hour. "You're one to talk," Tristan shot back, sliding into the seat, their knees brushing under the table. A spark that neither acknowledged but both felt. Conversation spilled out like it had on the train, deeper now, unhurried. Elias spoke of Austin's heat, the way he'd coded his first app in a garage startup, the ex who'd promised forever but bailed when the shine wore off. He said I was too much, too intense, too all in. Like loving hard is a flaw. His voice cracked just a fraction, vulnerability flickering in those blue eyes. Tristan nodded, sharing his own scars. The high school bully who'd cornered him after prom, the college fling that ended in ghosting, the family back in Portland who sent rainbow cards at Pride but changed the subject over Thanksgiving turkey. It's like we're free, but not really, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Elias reached across the table then, his hand covering Tristan's, thumb tracing a slow circle on the back. "Not with me. Not if I have anything to say about it." The touch ignited something primal, a hunger Tristan had long suppressed. When they left the cafe, the afternoon sun breaking through clouds, Elias walked him to his bus stop, their steps syncing like they'd rehearsed it. At the curb, he cupped Tristan's face, tilting it up with a gentleness that belied his strength. The kiss was inevitable, soft at first, lips brushing, testing, then deepening as the world fell away, Seattle's hum fading to the roar of blood in Tristan's ears. Elias tasted like coffee and rain, his hands threading through Tristan's hair, pulling him closer until there was no space left between them. They broke apart breathless, foreheads pressed together, Elias's whisper hot against his skin. "Come to my place, please." Tristan's apartment was a sanctuary of controlled chaos, sketchpads strewn across the futon, Takeout containers stacked by the sink, posters of indie bands peeling at the edges from the humidity. But Elias's place in Belltown was a revelation. A loft with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ferry lanes, furnished with mid-century pieces that spoke of quiet taste. He cooked pasta with fresh basil from a windowsill herb garden, wine poured from a bottle he'd saved for a rainy day that turned sunny. They ate on the couch, knees touching, the movie they'd put on forgotten as stories turned to confessions. Elias admitted the fear that had driven him to Seattle. A one-night stand gone wrong, whispers of indiscretion that threatened his job, the exhaustion of hiding pieces of himself. Tristan opened up about his art, the series of portraits he'd started but never finished, strangers he'd imagined loving, their eyes holding secrets he longed to unlock. The night unfolded in touches. Elias's fingers sketching patterns on Tristan's arm, Tristan's head on Elias's chest, listening to the steady thrum of his heart. When they finally moved to the bedroom, it was with a reverence that bordered on worship. Clothes shed slowly, bodies explored like sacred maps. Elias was all contrasts. Rough hands gentle on Tristan's hips, urgent kisses tempered by pauses to check in. Is this okay? Do you want? Tristan, for the first time, felt desired not despite his edges, but because of them. The curve of his waist, the freckles dusting his shoulders, the way he arched under Elias's mouth like a bowstring drawn taut. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of them, Elias traced Tristan's spine with lazy fingers. I don't do this, fall this fast. But you're like that first breath after diving underwater too long. Tristan smiled into the darkness, vulnerability a warm ache. Me neither. But maybe that's the point. Weeks turned to months, their lives intertwining like vines on a trellis. Tristan's freelance work picked up, logos for local startups that paid enough to ease the knot in his stomach, and Elias's job at a fintech firm in South Lake Union meant late nights but early mornings shared over oatmeal and NPR. They explored Seattle like tourists in their own city. Hikes in Discovery Park where fog clung to the cedars, ferry rides to Bainbridge with picnics of cheese and crusty bread, nights at the Tractor Tavern where Elias two-stepped badly to country covers, pulling Tristan into the fray with laughter that echoed louder than the music. Elias fit into Tristan's world seamlessly, meeting his ragtag circle of friends at a potluck in Finney Ridge, Jada, the queer black photographer with a laugh like thunder, and Micah, the non-binary barista who read palms between shifts. They grilled Elias over board games, but his easy charm won them over, stories of Texas rodeos and coding marathons disarming even Micah's skepticism. Yet beneath the bliss, shadows stirred. Tristan noticed Elias's phone buzzing at odd hours, texts from numbers with Austin area codes that he'd dismiss with a quick work stuff. Once, during a quiet dinner at a Vietnamese spot in the International District, Elias's face tightened at a call, excusing himself to the alley where Tristan glimpsed him through the window, voice raised in hushed urgency. Who was that? Tristan asked later, curled on the couch, the foe settling heavy in his gut. Elias waved it off, pulling him close. X being dramatic. Nothing to worry about. Tristan wanted to believe him. The way Elias's arms anchored him, the promises whispered in the dark. But doubt is a seed, and in the fertile soil of past hurts, it took root. The first fracture came on a crisp October evening, leaves crunching underfoot as they strolled through Green Lake Park, the water a mirror for the fading sunset. Tristan had been sketching Elias on a park bench, capturing the way the light gilded his profile, when his phone lit up with a notification. A freelance offer from a gallery in Pioneer Square. It was real money, the kind that could fund a solo show, a step toward the life he'd sketched in his dreams. Read it to me, Elias said, nuzzling his neck, breath warm against the chill. Tristan did, voice bubbling with excitement, but Elias's response was muted. A distracted "that's great, babe," as he scrolled his own screen. Tristan pulled back, studying the furrow in his brow. Everything okay? Elias pocketed the phone, forcing a smile. Just deadlines piling up. Tell me more about the show. What's the theme? They talked it through, Tristan's words tumbling out, but the moment lingered, a hairline crack in the foundation. That night, as they made love with the windows open to the autumn breeze, Tristan chased away the unease with fervor, clinging to Elias like he could will away the shadows. But shadows have a way of growing. Elias started staying late at the office more often, coming home to their shared apartment. Tristan had moved in 2 months prior, boxes still half unpacked, with takeout and apologies. "Big project," he'd say, kissing Tristan's forehead before collapsing into bed, phone face down on the nightstand. Tristan filled the gaps with his art, the gallery gig turning into late nights at his drafting table, charcoal smudging his fingers as he poured Elias into every line, the slope of his shoulders, the dimple that appeared when he grinned. Jada noticed first, over coffee at her studio in Georgetown, prints of her latest series drying on lines strung like laundry. "You're glowing, but it's got an edge, like you're holding your breath." She sipped her latte, eyes sharp behind her glasses. "Spill." Tristan hesitated, then let it out. The late nights, the vague texts, the way Elias's laugh felt rarer, like a flower wilting in shade. Jada listened, then squeezed his hand. "Talk to him, before it festers." He did, that weekend over brunch at a spot in Wallingford, avocado toast steaming between them. "Elias, I feel like you're slipping away. Is there something you're not telling me?" Elias set down his fork, blue eyes meeting hazel with a weight that pinned Tristan in place. "It's my ex, okay? Derek. He's in town for a conference, some tech thing, and he's been reaching out, stirring up old shit. But it's nothing. I told him we're done." The admission landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading. Tristan's stomach twisted. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" "Because I didn't want to drag you into it. You're my fresh start, Tris. The one thing that's real." They kissed over the check, reconciliation sweet on their tongues, and for a week, it held. Their love a defiant bloom against the encroaching frost. Elias blocked Derek's number, deleted the app, and they reclaimed their rhythm. Movie nights with popcorn fights, drives up to Snoqualmie Falls where mist kissed their skin like blessings. But Derek wasn't done. He appeared at Elias's office one Tuesday, all charm and cologne, the kind of golden boy handsome that turned heads, blonde hair slicked back, suit tailored to his athletic build. Elias recounted it later, voice tight, as they unpacked groceries in the kitchen. "He cornered me in the lobby, acting like old times. Said he missed me, that Seattle had changed me." Tristan's knife paused mid-chop on the cutting board, carrots scattering like accusations. "And what did you say?" "That I'm happy. That I have you." Elias stepped close, hands on hips, grounding. "Believe me?" Tristan did, or tried to, burying the jealousy in sketches of Elias laughing, free and unburdened. But the seed sprouted thorns. November brought rain again, relentless sheets that turned the streets to rivers, mirroring the turmoil building inside Tristan. The gallery show loomed, his pieces, portraits titled Strangers in the Rain, hung in a space that smelled of fresh paint and possibility. Elias promised to be there, front row, but work intervened, a can't-miss meeting that left Tristan navigating the opening alone. Jada was his rock, arm linked through his as they mingled with collectors in slim ties and artists nursing cheap wine. "He's missing out," she murmured, clinking glasses. "But look at you owning this." Tristan smiled for the cameras, but inside, the absence gnawed. He slipped out early, walking home through the deluge, coat soaked, tears mingling with rain. Elias was waiting when he arrived, takeout from their favorite Thai place steaming on the counter, apology in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Tris. It was brutal. Client from Tokyo, jet-lagged and demanding." Tristan peeled off his wet clothes in the bathroom, the mirror fogging with his breath. "I get it, but I needed you there. Felt like you chose work over us." Elias followed, wrapping him in a towel, body heat chasing the cold. "Never. You're my priority." They made up in the shower, water cascading like forgiveness, bodies slick and urgent, Elias's hands mapping every curve as if to memorize. Yet the pattern persisted, Derek's shadow lengthening. A package arrived at the office, forwarded to home. A bottle of Elias's favorite bourbon from Austin, Note tucked inside that Tristan glimpsed before Elias snatched it away. Thinking of you. Let's talk. D. Confrontation brewed that night. Over dinner, neither touched. He's not letting go, Tristan said, voice steady but eyes stormy. And you're not shutting it down hard enough. Elias sighed, running hands through his hair. Derek's persistent, but he's history. I love you, Tristan. Only you. The words should have soothed, but they chafed, doubt festering like an untreated wound. Tristan retreated into his art, the next series darker. Figures half-shadowed, eyes averted, longing etched in every stroke. Holiday lights twinkled early in Fremont, strings draping the troll sculpture under the bridge, but Tristan's world dimmed. He threw himself into Micah's holiday market setup, helping string garlands at the pop-up in Ballard, the scent of pine and cider a temporary balm. Elias tried. Surprise tickets to a Tim McGraw concert, recreating that first pasta dinner. But the effort felt forced, the joy strained. One evening, after a shift at the coffee shop where tips were slim and customers ruder than usual, Tristan came home to find Elias on the couch, laptop open. Video call ended abruptly. The screen showed a frozen image. Derek's face, mid-laugh, the two of them in what looked like a bar, arms slung casual. Tristan's blood ran cold. Who was that? Elias closed the laptop too quickly. Just a work call. Old colleague. The lie hung heavy, acrid as burnt toast. Tristan's voice broke. Don't. I saw him. Derek. Silence stretched, taut as a wire. Elias deflated, shoulders slumping. Okay, he called. Said he was in Seattle again, wanted to grab a drink. As friends. I said no, but he pushed, and I didn't hang up right away. I miss the ease sometimes, the history. But I don't want him. I want this us. The confession cracked something in Tristan. Raw and irreparable. Ease? That's what we're not. God, Elias. I'm trying so hard to be enough. You are, Elias pleaded, reaching out, but Tristan stepped back, the space between them a chasm. I need air. He grabbed his coat, fleeing into the night, rain welcoming him like an old friend. He walked for hours, ending up at the train station where it all began, the platform empty save for the echo of distant rails. Sitting on a bench, soaked and shivering, Tristan let the tears come, hot, unfiltered, for the dream he dared to believe in, now fraying at the edges. Elias found him there, of course, umbrella in hand, face etched with regret. Tristan, please, let's fix this. But fixing felt impossible, the trust a fragile thing, shattered. They rode home in silence, the car a cocoon of unspoken fears, and as Tristan lay awake beside him, he wondered if love was just a beautiful betrayal waiting to happen. Winter gripped Seattle in its icy fist, snow dusting the evergreens like powdered sugar on a bitter pill. Christmas approached, but the holiday cheer felt mocking. Carols blasting from speakers in Pike Place, wreaths on every door, while Tristan and Elias navigated a minefield of tiptoeing conversations and loaded silences. They tried counseling at Jada's insistence, a queer therapist in Capitol Hill with an office overlooking the park, her voice calm as she unpacked their patterns. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight, she said, handing them exercises. Date nights without phones, letters of what they cherished. Elias wrote his first, slipped under Tristan's pillow. Your eyes in the morning light, the way you hum off-key to Fleetwood Mac, how you make me believe in second chances. Tristan read it through tears, the words a lifeline, and penned his own. Your laugh that chases shadows, the safety in your arms, the stranger who smiled and stayed. It helped, marginally, the wound scabbing over. They hosted a small solstice party, just the core group. Jada with her new girlfriend, Lena, a fiery Latina chef, Micah with handmade ornaments. Laughter filled the loft, eggnog flowing, and for a night, it was easy again. Elias's hand in Tristan's under the table, a silent vow. But Derek loomed, a specter refusing banishment. New Year's Eve brought the hammer. Elias's phone rang at midnight, confetti still falling from their balcony kiss, and Tristan answered on impulse, heart pounding. Tristan? It's Derek. Put Eli on. The voice was smooth, edged with entitlement, and rage surged through Tristan like fire. Stay away from him. He's mine. A pause, then a chuckle that curdled milk. Ours, you mean? You think you know him? Ask about the weekend in Vegas last spring. The one he said was work. The line went dead, but the damage bloomed. Tristan confronted Elias in the kitchen, champagne flutes shattering on the tile. Vegas. What happened? Elias's face paled, the truth spilling out in fragments. A conference, too much whiskey, a kiss in a casino haze that went no further. But it had happened, before Seattle, before them. A secret he'd buried to protect the new. Why hide it? Tristan roared, voice breaking. I told you everything. My fears, my past. And you let me think we were clean. I was ashamed, Elias whispered, tears tracking his cheeks. It meant nothing. You're everything. But nothing felt like everything shattered. Tristan packed a bag that night, crashing at Jada's, the betrayal a knife twisting deep. Days blurred into weeks of radio silence, Tristan throwing himself into the gallery's follow-up exhibit, portraits now laced with pain. Eyes shadowed, smiles fractured. Elias reached out through friends, flowers at the coffee shop, voicemails raw with pleas. I fucked up. Come back. Let me prove it. Tristan listened in the dark, heart warring with head, the love a stubborn flame refusing to gutter. Valentine's Day dawned gray, and impulse won. He showed up at Elias's office unannounced, nerves jangling like loose change. The receptionist buzzed him up, and there Elias was, in a conference room glassed in like an aquarium mid-meeting. He excused himself, face lighting like dawn. Tris. Not here. They fled to a nearby park, benches slick with melt, the Space Needle a distant needle in the sky. I can't stop loving you, Tristan said, voice trembling. But I need to know if you can be all in. No ghosts. Elias dropped to one knee. Not proposal, but surrender, hands clasping Tristan's. I swear. Therapy, transparency, whatever it takes. You're my home. The kiss that followed was desperate. A dam breaking. Forgiveness tentative but real. They rebuilt slowly. Shared passwords, weekly check-ins, Elias deleting every trace of the past. Spring crept in, cherry blossoms unfurling along the waterfront, mirroring their cautious bloom. Yet crisis shadowed healing. In May, Elias's company announced layoffs. His project axed in a corporate shuffle. Bills piled, tension simmered, old insecurities flaring. Tristan's art surged, a commission from a magazine landing him a feature, but success felt hollow amid the strain. One night, after a fight over finances, harsh words about pulling weight, Tristan stormed out, ending up at the train station again, full circle. The platform hummed with evening rush, faces blurring, until a figure approached. Not Elias, but Derek, suit rumpled, eyes bloodshot. Tristan, we need to talk. Leave me alone. He grabbed Tristan's arm, gripped too tight. Eli's lying to you. That Vegas trip? It wasn't just a kiss. The punch came from nowhere. Elias, bursting from the crowd, fist connecting with Derek's jaw in a crack that silenced the platform. Security swarmed, statements taken. But as they rode home in a cab, Elias's hand shaking in his, Tristan saw the truth. Love wasn't absence of storm, but weathering it together. You're an idiot, Tristan murmured, kissing bruised knuckles. My idiot. Summer heat wave blanketed Seattle, unusual and oppressive, turning the loft into a sauna of sweat and secrets aired. They dove into couples therapy deeper, unpacking betrayal's roots. Elias's fear of abandonment from a childhood of absent dads, Tristan's armor forged in isolation. Progress was messy. Tears in sessions, make-up sex that left marks like maps of battles won. Tristan's art evolved, a new series echoes of us. Canvases of intertwined forms, light-piercing darkness, exhibited at a larger venue in Soto. Elias stood beside him at the opening, proud and present, toasting with sparkling water as collectors buzzed. You're a star, he whispered, hand at the small of Tristan's back. We're stars, Tristan corrected, the plural a quiet victory. But life, in its American grit, tested further. Elias landed a freelance gig, remote coding for a startup in Portland, but it meant trips back east, temptation's shadow. Tristan braced, trust a muscle flex daily. One weekend, alone in the loft, Tristan found the letter, tucked in Elias's laptop case, from Derek, postmarked Austin. I know about the layoff. Need money? Come back. We were good once. Rage warred with sorrow, but Tristan chose faith, burning the letter in the sink, ashes swirling down the drain like exorcism. Elias returned to find him sketching by candlelight, the air thick with unspoken choice. I love you, Tristan said simply, pulling him down. Choose us. I have. Every day. Fall returned, leaves turning gold, their love tempered like steel in fire. They adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy mutt named Finn, from a shelter in Magnolia, walks along the beach becoming ritual, paws in sand, hands clasped. Thanksgiving brought family, Tristan's parents flying up, awkward but earnest, Elias's mom video calling with pie recipes. Over turkey, stories flowed, bridges built. As winter loomed again, Tristan proposed. Not with rings, but words on the train platform where it began, snow flurrying soft. Marry me? Not today but someday. Build this forever. Elias's yes was a sob, arms crushing, the city fading to their pulse. The engagement wasn't fireworks and champagne toasts, but a quiet ceiling, shared over takeout in the loft. Rings simple bands bought from a jeweler in Pioneer Square. Silver etched with train tracks, symbols of paths converged. News spread through their circle like wildfire. Jada hooped over FaceTime, planning a queer as hell ceremony. Micah gifted custom invites with holographic pride flags. Even Tristan's folks, thawing over months of visits, sent a card. Proud of you both. Love from Portland. Elias threw himself into wedding prep with boyish zeal, tasting cakes at a bakery in Fremont, debating venues from beachside in Alki to urban lofts downtown. Something intimate, he insisted, blue eyes alight. Just us, the people who matter, and the sound as witness. Tristan nodded, heart full, but beneath the joy, old fractures ached. Therapy continued, a bi-weekly anchor, where Dr. Reyes probed deeper. Healing isn't linear, loves. It's a spiral, circling back to face the shadows. Shadows did circle. Elias's freelance stabilized, but late-night coding sessions bred distance, echoes of before. One evening, Tristan came home from a client meeting in Bellevue, traffic a snarl of brake lights, to find Elias on the balcony, phone to ear, voice low and urgent. I can't, Derek. It's over. I'm engaged. The name hit like ice water. Tristan froze in the doorway, Finn whining at his feet. Elias turned, face ashen, ending the call with a jab. Tris, it's not. How many times? Tristan's voice cracked, the dog retreating to his bed. How many final talks? Elias crossed the room in 3 strides, hands outstretched. The last. He heard about the wedding, some mutual friend, and called to congratulate, then pivot to bullshit. I shut it down. Tristan backed away, chest tight. Congratulate? He's a snake, Elias. And you're feeding him scraps of your attention. They argued through dinner, words sharp as kitchen knives. Accusations of naivety, defenses laced with guilt. Elias stormed to the spare room, now a studio for Tristan's art, slamming the door. Tristan curled on the couch, Finn's head in his lap, tears soaking fur as the city lights mocked him through the blinds. Morning brought olive branches. Coffee brewing, Elias's note on the counter. I'm sorry. Let's talk. No defenses. They did, over mugs at the kitchen table, raw and unfiltered. Elias admitted the pull, not desire, but nostalgia's trap, the comfort of familiarity amid wedding stress. You're my future, but sometimes I sabotage it. Old habits. Tristan exhaled, vulnerability his offering. And I armor up, expecting the worst. We can't marry like this, half-healed. Dr. Reyes mediated the next session, assigning shadow work, journaling triggers, role-playing confrontations. It unearthed more, Elias's fear of monogamy rooted in his dad's infidelities, Tristan's abandonment echoes from a college love who bailed for straight-passing ease. Progress was glacial but real. Date nights enforced, phones in another room during meals. They eloped in spirit first. A weekend in the San Juans, ferry to Orcas Island. Vows exchanged on a cliffside overlook, seals barking below like applause. No officiant, just them. Rings exchanged anew, the ocean swallowing their promises. Back in Seattle, planning ramped up. June wedding, rooftop venue in Belltown with views of the Olympics. Guest list capped at 50. Invites went out. Elegant cards with pressed wildflowers, Tristan's sketches of fairies and furs. But betrayal's ghost wasn't done haunting. 2 weeks before the date, a package arrived, not at the loft, but Tristan's gallery P.O. box, forwarded from an Austin return address. Inside, photos, glossy prints of Elias and Derek, timestamps from last fall. Arms around waists in a bar, lips brushing in what looked like a hotel hallway. A note Derek scrawl he never stopped. Thought you should know before you say I do. Tristan's world tilted, the gallery's white walls closing in as he stared, nausea rising. He drove home erratic, horns blaring, bursting into the loft where Elias prepped dinner, apron dusted with flour. Explain this. Photos scattered on the counter like shrapnel. Elias's knife clattered, face draining of color. Tris. Now. The story poured out, halting. The Vegas weekend, yes. A drunken night, lines crossed into territory Tristan had only imagined in nightmares. But it was once, a mistake buried, confessed in therapy months back, or so Elias thought, the session Tristan had missed for work. You said a kiss, Tristan whispered, voice hollow. Not this. Elias sank to the floor, head in hands. I minimized it.
Goo, I'm sorry.
It haunts me, the regret. But I chose you. Every day since. Betrayal's blade twisted deeper, trust eviscerated. You chose to lie. Again. Tristan fled to Jada's, crashing on her couch. Phone off. The wedding dress. Wait. No suit. Hanging like a noose in his mind. Days blurred. Calls from Micah. Texts from his mom. Elias's voicemails a litany of anguish. I destroyed us. But if there's a piece left, fight for it with me. Crisis peaked in a rain-lashed night, Tristan wandering Fremont streets, ending at the train tracks, chain-link fence rattling in wind. Headlights swept, Elias's car, pulling over, him emerging soaked, no jacket. Go away. Please. Elias's voice broke, stepping close despite the barrier. I lied to protect us, but it was cowardice. The truth. It was one night, meaningless, before I knew what you meant. I've atoned in silence, but not enough. Cancel the wedding if you must. Just don't cancel us. Tristan's sob escaped, fists clenched on the fence. How do I trust again? How do I heal this? Together, Elias said, hand extended through the links. Or not at all. Fingers intertwined, cold metal between, and in that tether Tristan glimpsed possibility. Love not perfect, but persistent. They canceled the ceremony, guests understanding in emails laced with support. Therapy intensified, twice weekly. Dr. Reyes guiding through grief's layers. Elias bared all. Emails deleted, numbers blocked. A letter to Derek severing ties, mailed with Tristan's witness. Healing's path wound through summer's end. Hikes in the Cascades where wildflowers nodded absolution. Art classes together at a studio in the Central District. Clay hands molding forms from chaos. Tristan's series Fractured Light sold out. Critics praising the raw humanity. Proceeds funding a trip to Austin. Not confrontation, but reclamation. Elias showing Tristan his roots. To carry a steaming with barbacoa. Family ranch where stars blanketed like mercy. Fall deepened. Leaves carpeting paths. Their bond scar-tissued strong. They rescheduled vows for spring, smaller, on the beach at Golden Gardens. Barefoot in sand, waves lapping like lullabies. Winter solstice brought reflection. A fire in the loft, Finn at their feet, letters read aloud of lessons learned. To betrayal, Tristan toasted, and the grace to rise. To us, Elias echoed, kiss ceiling. Spring erupted in Seattle like a long-held breath released. Azaleas exploding in pinks and whites along the Burke-Gilman Trail, the air alive with the hum of bees and possibility. Tristan and Elias's recommitment ceremony was simplicity incarnate. A dawn gathering at Golden Gardens, the beach a canvas of smoothed pebbles and tidal pools reflecting rose-gold sky. Guests arrived in layers against the chill. Jada in a flowing kaftan, Micah with a ukulele slung over shoulder, Tristan's parents bundled in wool, their presence a quiet milestone. No officiant spoke vows. They wrote their own, exchanged over a driftwood altar adorned with sea glass and wild roses. Tristan went first, voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. Hazel eyes locked on Elias's blue. I dreamed of a stranger once, faceless and fleeting. Then you smiled on that train, and I learned love isn't a dream. It's the work, the forgiveness, the choice to stay when shadows fall. I choose you, Elias Hale, in fracture and in light. Elias's response choked him, tears carving tracks down stubbled cheeks. You saw me, Tristan Ellis, before I saw myself, flaws and all. I betrayed that gift once, but never again. You're my anchor, my horizon. I vow transparency, tenderness, the daily yes to us. Rings slid on, upgraded, gold with inscribed coordinates of that first train stop, and the group erupted in cheers, Micah strumming a jaunty What a Wonderful World. Breakfast followed on blankets. Scones from a local bakery, fresh salmon from the market, laughter weaving through the mist rolling off the sound. The day lingered like a perfect note, but life resumed its cadence. Elias's contract steadying into a full-time role at a non-profit coding for social good, Tristan's art gaining traction with a residency offer in Brooklyn. Whispers of relocation surfaced over dinners, pros and cons debated like chess moves. New York's pulse versus Seattle's soul, career leaps against rooted lives. It's not goodbye to here, Elias said one night, tracing Tristan's collarbone in bed, sheets tangled from lazy lovemaking. Just hello to more. Tristan hummed agreement, but unease stirred. A familiar itch, the fear that growth meant fracture. Summer solstice marked 6 months post-crisis. A milestone toasted with craft IPAs on their balcony. Finn chasing fireflies in the twilight. Jada hosted a retrospective for Tristan's work at her gallery. Walls alive with fractured light and new pieces. Tethers, couples linked by threads of gold leaf, resilient against abstract storms. Elias beamed through the crowd, hand never straying far, but as the night waned, a figure lingered at the periphery. Tall, blonde, nursing a drink. Derek, uninvited, bold as brass. Tristan spotted him first, stomach dropping like a stone. What the hell? Elias turned, face hardening to granite. How did you? Mutual friends, Derek drawled, stepping into light, suit crisp despite the heat. Heard about the beach thing. Congrats. His eyes raked over Tristan, smirk curling. Looks like you tamed him. Security, Jada's call, escorted him out, but the venom lingered. In the cab home, Elias fumed, fist clenched. He's unhinged. I need to end this for good. Tristan nodded, but the encounter reopened scars. Sleep elusive that night. Morning brought action. Elias filed a restraining order, paperwork navigated with a lawyer friend of Micah's. The legal dance a reminder of love's bureaucracy. Yet from ashes rose resolve. They channeled it into advocacy, Elias volunteering with the LGBTQ+ youth center in Capitol Hill, coding apps for safe spaces. Tristan leading workshops on art as catharsis, teens sketching their hidden selves under his gentle guidance. Fall whispered in with equinox winds, leaves swirling like confetti from an unseen party. Tristan's Brooklyn residency loomed 3 months, a chance to exhibit at a Chelsea space, networks that could launch his career. Elias urged him, go, shine. I'll hold the fort. Packing was bittersweet. Studio cleared, canvases crated, Finn's toys portioned for boarding. Departure day dawned foggy. The train to the airport, a echo of origins. Elias beside him, hand in hand. No smiles this time, but a steady gaze. At security, kiss goodbye stretched, reluctant. Call every night, Elias murmured. Love you to the stars. New York swallowed Tristan whole. Hustle of subways. Galleries humming with critique. Lofts echoing with solitude. He thrived creatively. Urban strangers born from sketches of faces in crowds. Longing etched in subway fluorescence. But nights ached. Video calls with Elias a tether across miles. Finn's antics, Seattle rains. Whispers of miss you that bridged the gap. Mid-residency, crisis struck not in betrayal, but absence's void. Elias's calls grew sporadic. Work crunch, he said, and Tristan's texts unanswered for days. Paranoia bloomed. Old demons whispering he's slipping away. A midnight call to Jada confirmed fears. He's been distant, yeah, but swamped, big grant deadline. Doubt festered, culminating in a cross-country flight home unannounced. Heart hammering as he keyed into the loft. Elias was there, buried in code, but the relief cracked into confrontation. Why the silence? Are you seeing someone? Elias's laugh was weary, pulling him down. God, no, just drowning. Missed you more than words. Reunion was fierce. Bodies reconnecting like puzzle pieces long separated. Apologies gasped between kisses. They talked till dawn, boundaries redrawn. Scheduled calls, visits planned. Tristan returned to Brooklyn fortified, residency culminating in a show that drew raves. The New York Times snippet. Ellis captures queer longing with cinematic intimacy. Offers poured, teaching gigs, commissions. Winter break brought Elias east, snow blanketing Central Park. Their hotel a nest of down duvets and room service. They wandered MoMA's abstracts mirroring their chaos to beauty arc. Ice skating where Elias's wobbles drew Tristan's laughter like medicine. Back in Seattle, integration deepened. Elias proposing a joint project, an app for artists to connect. Tristan's illustrations its skin. Spring bloomed again, their first anniversary marked with a train ride. Commuter line looped, recreating that faded smile, vows renewed in whispers. But humanity's arc bends toward growth through trial. Summer heat returned, and with it, Elias's mom fell ill, pancreatic, stage 3, the call shattering a barbecue in Discovery Park. Texas beckoned, Elias flying south for weeks, Tristan following after wrapping a project. The ranch was vast, skies endless, family a tapestry of grief and grit. Elias's dad, weathered and wordless, sharing beers on the porch, siblings circling with casseroles and prayers. Elias withered, bedside vigils etching lines on his face, Tristan his shadow, holding hands through chemo waits, sketching portraits of the matriarch fierce to the end. Her passing in August was a quiet unraveling. Funeral under live oaks heavy with Spanish moss. Eulogy delivered by Elias, voice cracking. She taught me love's fierceness. Unconditional, even in storms. Grief's wake was a monsoon. Elias retreating into work, Tristan's art turning somber. Veils of loss, veils lifting to reveal faces half-formed. Fights flared. Over Elias's withdrawal, Tristan's impatience. Echoing old patterns. Crisis crested in a hospital waiting room redux. Not for her, but Elias, panic attack mid-argument. Chest tight as the loss compressed him. Tristan drove through Austin's sprawl. AR lights harsh, holding him through the sobs. I can't lose you too. You won't, Tristan vowed, fingers laced. We're woven now. Healing flowed from there. Grief groups in Seattle, Elias opening to his dad over long necks, Tristan channeling pain into a memorial exhibit. Proceeds to cancer research, Elias's code partnering for a fundraising platform. Fall's harvest brought harvest of self. Leaves gold. Their love matured, roots deep. Thanksgiving on the ranch, family expanding to include Tristan fully. His hand in Elias's under the table accepted. Winter solstice, they stood on the balcony. Stars pricking the dome. Finn dreaming at feet. To strangers who become home, Elias toasted. To dreams that endure, Tristan replied. Kiss sealing the year. The new year dawned with tentative light. Seattle's winter's a metaphor for their union. Gray skies yielding to glimpses of sun. Endurance, the quiet hero. Elias's grief ebbed into integration. Memories of his mother woven into daily grace. Her pecan pie recipe adapted for potlucks. Stories shared at the youth center where he mentored kids coding their futures. Tristan watched him bloom from the ashes, pride swelling like tide. His own art shifting toward hope. Horizons unbound. Figures stepping from shadows into dawn. Their life settled into a rhythm both ordinary and sacred. Mornings with Finn's eager whines for walks along the locks, where salmon leaped like affirmations. Evenings of collaborative creation, Elias debugging lines while Tristan inked interfaces, laughter punctuating the glow of screens. Jada's wedding, hers and Lena's, a vibrant affair in a vineyard outside Woodinville. Saw them as best men, toasts laced with to loves that weather. But modern America's undercurrents stirred unrest. National headlines screamed division. Anti-LGBTQ bills snaking through state houses. Pride events met with protests, reminding them freedom was fragile, fought for daily. Elias channeled fury into advocacy, testifying at City Hall for inclusive tech policies. Tristan's murals popped up in safe zones, bold strokes of color defying erasure. Personal tempests brewed too. Tristan's career tugged eastward again. A gallery in San Francisco offering a solo retrospective, 6 months, lucrative but looming. It's huge, he told Elias over breakfast, bagels toasting. But leaving you. Elias's fork paused, blue eyes steady. Go. We did long distance before. Stronger now. Reluctance flavored the goodbye at SeaTac. Elias's hug fierce. Finn's leash taut in his grip. Video dates. And I'll visit code on the road. San Francisco enveloped Tristan in fog and ferment. Mission District's murals echoing his style. Gallery prep a whirlwind of installs and interviews. Calls with Elias anchored him. Finn's zoom eyes, Grant wins, whispers of hurry home. But distance amplified fissures. Elias's updates grew clipped, work swallowing weekends. Mid-spring, fracture widened. A call from Jada, voice-edged. Elias is spiraling, taking on too much, barely sleeping. Check in. Tristan's flight home was impulse, landing in a drizzle that matched his dread. The loft felt foreign. Takeout boxes piled, Elias unshaven on the couch, laptop a lap warmer. Babe! Elias startled, eyes red-rimmed. Tris, early. The dam broke. Confessions of overload, grief resurfacing in waves, fear that Tristan's success outpaced their shared path. You're soaring and I'm stuck in neutral. Tristan knelt, hands framing his face. We're a team. Your wins are mine. The app launch last month? Game changer. They unraveled it over days. Elias scaling back hours, Tristan brainstorming co-location. Perhaps a Bay Area branch for his work. Vulnerability bridged the gap. Intimacy reignited in slow, reclaiming touches. Return to SF fortified. Retrospective a triumph. San Francisco Chronicle. Ellis's gaze pierces the queer American soul. But triumph soured with news. Elias's dad, heart scare in Texas, pulling him south again. Tristan joined, driving dusty roads to the ranch. Hospital vigils a déjà vu of loss. Recovery was touch and go. But the elder Hale pulled through. Gruff thanks murmured to Tristan over Jell-O cups. You keep my boy steady. Summer's heat mirrored inner fires. Back north, they honeymooned belatedly. Cabins in the Olympics, trails winding through old growth, nights under canopies of stars. There, amid ferns and falls, Elias proposed expansion. Kids? Not now, but adoption someday. A family. Tristan's yes was breathless, vision sharpening. Little ones sketching with him, coding with Elias, Finn the benevolent uncle. Fall equinox brought harvest. Elias's nonprofit expanding, Tristan's book deal for Strangers' Smiles, illustrations and essays on found love. Book tour loomed cross-country but joint Elias tagging for tech stops. Launch in New York was electric. Crowds at Strand, signings till wrists ached. After-party in a Brooklyn loft with queer icons toasting. But glamour cracked. A heckler at a reading. Slurs hurled about agenda fiction. security hauling him out as Tristan's hands shook. Elias shielded him in the green room, arms iron. Their hate doesn't touch us. Winter crept, holidays a mosaic. Portland with Tristan's folks, turkey thawing old frosts. Austin Ranch, tamale steaming, Elias's dad toasting with shaky glass. To sons who love fierce. Solstice fire crackled. Letters burned. Fears released to ash. But crisis shadowed eve. Flu sweeping the center. Elias exposed. Quarantined solo while Tristan tested negative. Isolation a cruel echo. Nights apart in the same city. Tristan on the couch, Elias in bed. Strained. Arguments over vents crackling through walls. I feel caged, Elias admitted via intercom. Then break free, Tristan urged. Together. Convalescence bonded them deeper. Soups delivered. Movies streamed in sync. Gratitude lists exchanged. Spring's thaw mirrored renewal. Elias recovered. Their intimacy a celebration of bodies resilient. Anniversary 2. Train ride redux. Dinner in a dining car replica. Vows evolved. To strangers, storms, and the smiles that endure. Yet humanity demands depth. Summer brought reckoning. A youth from the center, Alex, 17, trans, runaway. Found them via the app, crashing on their couch en route to shelter. Stories unfolded. Family rejection, streets brutality, hope flickering faint. They advocated legal aid, therapy links, Alex's gratitude a mirror. You too. You're proof it gets better. Fall's colors deepened resolve. Adoption classes started, home study prepped, Finn vetted with tail wags. Winter's grip loosened to a profound peace. Loft aglow with plans, love not endpoint, but ever-unfolding path. The adoption journey unfolded like a tapestry woven from bureaucracy and heart. Home visits where social workers cooed over Finn's impeccable sit. Classes on trauma-informed parenting that left Tristan and Elias wide-eyed and whispering in bed. We can do this. Paperwork piled like autumn leaves, but each stamp forward felt monumental. A bridge to the family they'd sketched in quiet moments. Spring's bloom coincided with match. A sibling set, Mia and Luca, 5 and 3, biracial siblings from foster care. Histories etched in wary eyes but smiles quick as summer lightning. First meeting at a park in Magnolia. Swings creaking, ice cream melting on chins. Sealed it. Mia's pigtails flying as she claimed Elias for tag. Luca's tiny hand slipping into Tristan's, trusting. The wait post-match was exquisite torture. Court dates, finalizations. Culminating in a June afternoon, papers signed, the loft erupting in balloons and cake. Daddies. Mia tested the word, giggling. Luca nodded solemn, clutching a stuffed orca from the aquarium trip they'd previewed. Parenthood crashed like waves. Sleepless nights with nightmares, daycare runs amid rush hour, Elias's coding squeezed between nap schedules. Tristan's easel now cornered by crayons. Chaos reigned. Spilled juice on canvases, tantrums echoing off brick. But joy laced every mess. Luca's first code block stacked wobbly. Mia's portraits of our family. All stick figures holding hands. Challenges rose inevitable. Mia's rages rooted in loss. Therapy sessions where Tristan held her through sobs. Luca's selective mutism. Elias patient with puzzles till words trickled. Society's gaze sharpened. Playground stares at their unconventional unit. School forms bungled on family slots. But they leaned in. Community a bulwark. Jada auntie with photo shoots. Micah uncle with story hours. Summer's heat tested bonds. A family camping trip to the Olympics. Tent pitched crooked. Esmores charred. Brought breakthrough. Mia confessing fears around the fire. You won't leave like they did? Elias's vow, voice thick. Never. We're forever. Fall equinox. School started. Mia in kindergarten, Luca preschool. Backpack slung, Tristan snapping pics through tears. Elias's non-profit thrived. App iterated with kid-friendly modules. Tristan's book sequel. Families forged. Birthed from their arc. Hit shelves to acclaim. Winter holidays amplified magic. Tree trimmed with orphanage ornaments. Hanukkah lights mingling Christmas glow. Tristan's Jewish roots honored alongside Elias's Baptist echoes. Mia's dreidel spins, Lucas carols off-key. The loft a haven of cocoa and carols. Yet crisis, ever the teacher, visited in subtle guise. Elias's dad passed quietly. Heart giving out mid-ranch chores. Legacy a letter read at graveside. Son, love like I couldn't. Fierce, full. Tristan's gift to you. Grief revisited. Elias retreating to long runs along the waterfront. Tristan bridging with patience honed by tiny humans. Spring's renewal brought balance. Family therapy, Elias channeling loss into a memorial fund. Kids drawing grandpa's stars for release lanterns. Anniversary for a night out, kids with Jada, train dinner echoing origins. Smiles exchanged over candlelight, vows matured. To strangers, siblings, the endless becoming. Years layered like sedimentary rock, each stratum a story. Mia at 10, soccer star with braids flying, advocating for trans classmates. Luca 8, budding artist coder, apps sketched in marker. The loft expanded, balcony garden for veggies, walls alive with their evolutions. Challenges evolved. Teen hormones looming, work-life tugs, America's pulses. Elections swaying rights. Protests they marched with signs held high, kids wide-eyed but proud. Betrayals of youth tested Luca's first crush shattered by playground cruelty. Tristan holding him through confusion's storm. Mia's rebellion, piercings hidden, Elias's steady talk bridging the gulf. Through it, love's core held. Date nights stolen amid carpools, touches in kitchen chaos, dreams shared post-bedtimes of expansions. Another adoption? A cabin upstate? Crisis crested at Mia's quince, quasi, adapted with cultural mash. Lowrider cruise in the Central District, Lena's catering fusion feast. Uncle's slur slipped, wine loose, igniting Elias's rare fury. Tristan de-escalated, but homecoming raw. Kids shielded, marriage strained in the aftermath. We can't protect them from everything, Tristan sighed, wine untouched. But we shield what we can, Elias countered, embrace fierce. Healing in hikes, therapy reframed for family. Growth a collective bloom. Summer's end, a road trip, Route 101 snaking coast to Portland. Kids' queries filling miles. How'd you meet? Retold with embellishments. Laughter the glue. Fall's harvest. School plays, art shows, Elias's TEDx on coding compassion. Tristan's mural for the center, faces diverse, hands linked. Winter solstice, fire-lit, letters to future selves. We've built a world. Keep dreaming. Decades cusp. Kids tweens, loft a launchpad. Love not endpoint but expanse. In strangers' smiles, family forged. The American dream reimagined not in isolation, but interconnection. Tristan, sketching by window, Elias's arm around, knew. The stranger's smile had led here, to a life profound, imperfect, achingly human.